Today I wanted to do a tutorial on how to play Bach's Minuet in G minor, and so what I'm going to be doing is first I'm going to actually show you the sheet music because I have an old version of the sheet music that's like from the 1860s or 1870s. There's not even a proper date on it, but we believe it's from the 1860s, which is kind of neat. So I'm going to actually show you the version of the sheet music that I have, and I'm going to just kind of show you what it looks like on the music. If you don't have your own version of the sheet music, you can like screenshot it and use that as a guideline for how to play the piece. And then after I just kind of walk you through the sheet music, I'm also going to show you the piano keyboard, and I'm going to show you how to play basically each and every note of the song with all the correct fingering according to my version and all that stuff. So hopefully you guys find this helpful in learning how to play the G minor minuet. So let's get started. So let me show you here the sheet music for the Minuet in G minor. Basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of just walk you through the sheet music. I'm not going to show you every single note and every single finger to play. I'm going to save that for when I actually show you the keyboard of the piano, and that's when I'm actually going to show you what finger to play on every single note and what notes to actually play. I'm just kind of going to walk you through briefly the sheet music here and just kind of show you some of the things you should look out for when you're looking at sheet music for the first time. So basically we've got two flats over here. We have B flat and we have E flat, and that's because we're in the key of G minor, which has two flats. G minor is the relative minor of B flat major, and B flat major also has two flats. I kind of think of this as being the key signature for B flat major, but really it's the key signature also for G minor. We're also in 3/4 time here, which basically means there's 3 beats per measure, and the quarter note gets each beat. So as you can see here in this first measure, that's a perfect example of it. We have 3 beats per measure. As you can see, there's 3 notes here, and that's because they're 3/4 notes, and each one of them is getting one of the beats. So that is the time signature here. So we're not in 4/4 time, we're in 3/4 time. And the dynamics here are just kind of like an after, kind of thing, because basically Bach wouldn't have written dynamics into the piece because he would have been playing on a clavichord mostly. They also had organs back in the day, and clavichords definitely were not capable of doing dynamics, not really to any extent whatsoever. So basically these dynamics would have been added after some point in the future after Bach had written the piece, and basically they're just there. You can play them if you want, but if you were playing on like a clavichord or some kind of a historic keyboard instrument, you wouldn't have to worry about them because the instrument you would be playing it on, if it was a clavichord or a harpsichord, would not really be capable of any sort of real dynamics. So if we walk through here, we look at the piece, we don't really see any accidentals in the first line, but when we come down here, we see an F sharp, which is outside of the key signature, so that's something you're going to want to remember, that we do have this F sharp here in this measure. If we kind of keep walking through the sheet music, we do also come across a B natural here, as well as a B natural here on the last measure of the second line. So we have some accidentals here in this piece, and this piece is a little bit trickier than the Minuet in G major because the fingering is a little bit less, I don't really know how to explain it, it's less linear, if that makes any sense. It doesn't quite flow the same way as the fingering in the Minuet in G major did. With that piece, basically when you were playing the piece, your fingers were pretty much, for the most part, already in the right spots to play, and everything made a lot of sense. In this piece, we have the fingering is a little bit more interesting, and there's a lot of like finger switching going on, which is something that happens here. It's not marked, but it's something that you have to do on this D. And it's also something that actually is marked here on this G. As you can see, we have a 5 with a little like curved line under it, and then a 2. And basically what that means is you want to initially play that G with your pinky, your 5th finger, and then you'd want to change it to the 2nd finger while holding that note down, which then would allow you to kind of walk down here. As you can see, we'd go from G to F to E flat, and if you were on your pinky here on this G the whole time, you wouldn't really be able to do that without like picking your hand up off the key and either hopping down to F with your pinky or like, I don't know, doing something other strange. So basically changing from the 5th finger to the 2nd finger allows you to smoothly and seamlessly change your fingers, change your hand position, and continue walking down the scale. So let's take a look at the other 3 lines of the piece here. These are the first 2, but I just wanted to show you the first 2 up close, and now let's show you the other 3. So basically the last 3 measures wouldn't fit on the screen at one time, so I'm going to show you the next 2 measures of the piece. Basically the measure you can see, kind of the line you can see a little bit right up here, it was the 2nd line of the piece, so now let's look at the 3rd and the 4th lines here. Basically if you look here at the the third line here, what we will see is we can see this big repeat. So basically what this means, this is kind of like a divider in the music. Basically, when we'd come here, once we'd get to this chord, we'd want to repeat back to the beginning of the piece, which is up off screen, and then we'd want to play through that whole section all the way through until we get to here a second time. From here, we'd want to move on to the second section of the piece, which has a different sound and a different kind of a melody, a different kind of feel. And then from here, we'd want to play down to the end of the music. And at the end of the third line, which we'll see here in a bit, that also has a repeat sign. So when you got down to that part, you'd want to repeat back to here and then play that second section through a second time. And you'll hear me do that in the performance video of this piece. And so that's just something that you should do. You can kind of use it as like a divider between a divider of the music, because that's basically what it is. It's kind of dividing the first half, the first section of the piece from the second section of the piece. So when you're learning the piece, you can kind of think of like, okay, I'm going to only learn the first section of the piece for now, and then once I get comfortable with that, then I will move on to the second section of the piece. That's often what I will do when there's a specific section of the piece. You know, kind of like this has, we've got the A section and the B section. I just learned the A section first, and then after I get that pretty good, I'll move on to the B section. So if you look in here for accidentals or any other strange anomalies and weird stuff in the music, we don't really have a whole lot. We do have an E natural here, and we also have an E natural here as well. So as you can see there, we get rid of the E flats for a couple measures here. Then that measure looks good. We don't have anything strange in here. Got some staccato notes that you want to do. When I am going to be showing it to you and kind of showing you note by note what to do, I'm not really going to be focusing on doing staccatos and doing dynamics. I'm just mostly going to be focusing on what fingers to play and what notes to play. But when you're learning the piece for yourself, definitely make sure that when you actually kind of get beyond the point of figuring out what the notes are and figuring out what the fingers are and kind of practicing playing the piece through, make sure you do the dynamics. This is actually a slightly tricky part, because one thing I always found myself doing when I was playing the piece is playing this measure as staccato, because it kind of has that same rhythmic feel as like these two measures do, and some of the measures in the previous minuet. Also, like this measure here has that same kind of staccato 3-beat feel, but this one has that 3-beat feel but without staccato notes, so it's legato. So that's just something you want to watch out for. Don't do this measure staccato. I often found myself doing that, but this measure here is, these two measures are supposed to be staccato. After that, we kind of move on. We've got a B natural here, and then we've got some more dynamic changes here, and that is the end of the first two lines. It seems pretty normal, and let's check out the third line. So this here is the third line of the piece. We've already looked at this line here. I can only fit two lines on the screen at one time. I can't get one and I can't get three. So we have two here. We've already looked at this one. We've already seen it. As you remember, I talking about this B natural here that's here. And then if we take a look at the third line here, we can see that it's a little bit more complicated. We have F sharps here now as well. So we've got lots more accidentals in this piece and notes that are not in the original key signature than we had in the minuet in G major. We've got an F sharp here. We've got an F sharp here as well, and we've also got an E natural. We've got another E natural here, and then we've got an F sharp, and a lot of stuff to kind of pay attention for. We've got more staccato notes that you'd want to make sure to play. And then over here we also have a 16th note, which at full speed is really, really fast, but basically if you wanted to practice this with the metronome and practice it really slowly, it wouldn't be that difficult to figure out the 16th note and to play it at a nice slow speed. Again, playing it fast at the full tempo, it's basically like a grace note practically. It's really, really fast, but at a slower speed, it wouldn't be all that fast and you don't have to worry about it. Basically, the way 16th notes, if you don't know, the way they work is basically a 16th note is kind of like, 4 16th notes fits into the space of 1 beat. So as you can see, we've got 1 beat here, 2 beats, 3 beats. So each of these, as I said earlier, is taking up a beat. Each of these quarter notes is. So when we have 16th notes, each of these is a 1/4 of a beat. This is an 8th note, which is a 1/2 of a beat. So 2 8th notes fit in the space of 1 quarter note, but 4 16th notes will fit in the space of 1 quarter note as well. So you can kind of think of this little rhythmic section here as being this little rhythmic pattern more specifically. You could think of it as being 4 16th notes, except this is being held for the duration of 2 16th notes. That might make it a little bit easier to think of. So this is being held for the duration of 2 16th notes, and then you play these two for the second 2 16th notes, which is all in this beat. And one way to practice this is you could set your metronome up and think of it as 4 beats, 4 clicks of the metronome equals 1 of these quarter notes. So you can set the metronome up to a pretty fast speed, so it's kind of going like that, kind of a speed like that, and then perhaps you would play each quarter note at the start of each 4 rhythmic clicks, and then here you would have one click of the metronome for each 16th note, and that would be one way that you could kind of think about this measure if you were having difficulties with it, and that's just one way that you could practice it. The last measure here is just a simple chord. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you the keyboard, and then I will walk you through the piece step by step how to play the piece. So let's do that. So now let's come down here to the keyboard, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to walk you through each and every note of the Minuet in G minor and show you exactly what fingers to play according to my version of the sheet music, and also just to show you exactly what notes to play and how to play them. Now, talking about the fingering here, many versions will probably have different, very slightly different versions of the fingering. They might, you know, have different fingering numbers over different notes, and perhaps in some measures the fingering might be changed completely different from what I say to do in this video. And that's because the piece I'm going to be playing is very, very old, and over the years people have come up with different versions, different fingers to play in different notes, and different ways to play the song. So if the fingering in your version, if you're using sheet music, is different from my version, don't worry about it. If you like what the fingering in your version says better than what I say, just play that, and if you like what my version says, go ahead and play that. Just play whatever feels more comfortable for you, and don't worry about which version's fingering to use. Just use which one is more comfortable for you. So the first note in the Minuet in G minor is G in the left hand, and then at the same time we play G, we play B flat up here with our fourth finger, and we play this G with our second finger. Just like that. After that, we take our middle finger, which is kind of already lined up here, to play A. We play A, then we play G, then we go back up to A as we play F with our middle finger in the left hand. In the right hand, we jump down to D, then we play D a second time. And now this is where I don't know if I really changed the fingering or not, but basically on the second D that you play, the sheet music didn't have a specific fingering marking, so what I thought would be kind of nice is to change it to, instead of being a thumb, which the first D specifically says to play with a thumb, I thought it would be kind of cool to change it to a second finger, which allows you to more easily move on to the third measure, which tells you to play a G with your pinky up here. Like that, and you also play it at the same time you play E flat. So the reason I wanted to change the second finger here is because if we start here and we play this measure again, the next note I have to play is G, and basically I have to scrunch my hand up a little bit to play this G. Now that's not really difficult, and it's, you know, it's not really that hard, but if you play second finger, watch what happens. Your pinky is already there on G, and you don't have to think about scrunching it or moving it or anything. You just play it right where it's sitting. So that's kind of something convenient about playing the second D there with your second finger, because it lines up the pinky to play G up a little bit easier, and I just kind of liked that more. So that's why I do that there. So if we move on to the next measure here, we play G in our right hand with E flat in the left hand. Then we jump down an octave in the right hand and walk up the G minor scale. Just like that. And we tuck our thumb under on C, because the next note that we're going to want to play is D with our second finger. Like that. Then in the left hand we jump up to D, walk down the G minor scale again. Then the next note we play in the right hand is E flat with our middle finger. Then we go up to F, we come back down to E flat, we play D and A, just like that, together. Then what we're going to want to do in the next measure is play B flat and D together. Then we're going to go up to E flat, come back down to D. Then we're going to want to play G and C together. We're going to cross our second finger over to B flat. And that is the end of the first line according to my version of the sheet music. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to keep moving on through the sheet music until I come to that repeat sign there. And then when I get to that, I'm going to play through that whole first section of the piece for you. So let's move on to the second line here. And basically what we do here is we play A in the left hand with our thumb at the same time that we play C with our middle finger. Like that. As you can see, there was a bit of a strange scrunch here in the left hand from pinky to thumb, but that's just what the sheet music asks for, and that is what I did. So if you start here again, then we basically will go up to D at the same time that we play F sharp in the left hand. As you can see, F sharp is an accidental. We already talked about the accidentals in the sheet music. F sharp isn't in the key signature of the piece, so that's why it's an accidental, and it's going to be marked with a sharp sign. So once we play that, the D and the F sharp together, in the right hand we walk down to C, then we play G and B flat, then we go back up to C. Then in the left hand, we play D with our pinky, just like that. Then we jump up to D with our thumb in the left hand, walk down the G minor scale, which sounds a little bit familiar. We already had that same kind of motif earlier. And now this next measure is going to sound quite familiar to you. If you remember, that's actually the first measure of the piece, and that's because the next three measures actually repeat from the very first three lines of the sheet music. If you listen to them, second measure, next measure, those are actually the exact same three measures from the beginning of the piece, and so as a result, I'm not actually going to really go through those because I already went through them, but basically those three measures are exactly the same as the first three measures in the piece. The only real exception is that on that first measure there, you actually start off by playing this G with your pinky, and then you want to change it to your second finger like you started off the piece so that you can then walk down to here. Just like that. If you were on pinky, you really couldn't do that. You'd have to hop, which is generally not a good thing to do. So basically you want to change to your second finger while holding that note down, and then just walk down in the next measures. Just like that. So basically those three measures go like this. This is the start of the measure after those three measures, and basically this is where everything starts to change. Because instead of doing this, like we did in the fourth measure of the first line, we play that exact same thing, except instead of playing B flat here, we want to play B natural, because the sheet music tells us to. So it sounds like this instead. Which has a much different sound, and actually when you're first doing it, it sounds like you're playing the wrong note because you're supposed to be playing B flat, but the sheet music tells you to play B natural, so that's what you're supposed to do. Now from here, we want to, first of all, as you notice in the right hand, we have our pinky on D. And what we're going to want to do is change it to our thumb, just like we did in the left hand a couple measures ago. We will also want to do that at the beginning of the piece, where we have that same similar motif, except where there's a B flat instead of a B. We want to do that there as well. So basically, we're on pinky here. We want to change it to our thumb at some time during the measure. Doesn't really matter if you do it like in sync with the next note, or just if you kind of take your time doing it. Just make sure that at the end of the measure, your thumb is on D. So then you can play F with your middle finger and keep going on in the song. So that's the start of the next measure here. The B, D, and F, the B and D are in the left hand and the F is in the right hand. From here in the right hand, we walk up to G. And then in the left hand, we want to play G with our pinky. Just like that. Remember to play E flat. The B is the only one here that's natural. The E is still flat. So that measure sounds like this. The next measure here, we play E flat in the right hand as we play C in the left hand. Then we play A in the left hand with our middle finger as we walk up to F. Then we walk back down to E flat. Then we go to D in the right hand as we play F in the left hand with our pinky. Then we play B flat in the left hand with our second finger as we play D in our right hand with our second finger. Then we go to G in the right hand as we play E flat in the left hand. Then we go to C in the right hand with our thumb as we play F and A in the left hand, and we want to play F with our fourth finger and A with our second finger, like that. Then we want to play basically a B flat major chord right here in first inversion, which is B, D, D, F, and then B flat up here, at the same time that we play B flat with our thumb. Just like that. And then we jump down an octave below that B. So that is what that first section of the piece sounds like. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to play it through nice and slowly for you, all the way up to that measure with the B flat major chord. that was the first section of the piece, and hopefully I was playing it there slow enough so that you could follow along and either watch the sheet music or even play along with it if you find that would help you. So that was the first section of the sheet music, and after you get to that section, what you want to do is you want to repeat back to the beginning of the sheet music and then play that whole section over again. And then when you get back down to that B flat major chord, you'd want to move on in the sheet music to the second section of the piece. So let's take a look at the second section here of the piece, which starts out with a B flat in the left hand as we play D with our right hand. Just like that. Then from here we want to play B flat in the right hand with our second finger. We go up to C. Then we want to play D. We play E natural with our middle finger. We tuck our thumb under to F as we play A. Then we play two Gs. Then we play F and A. Then we want to play B flat in the right hand with our fourth finger as we play G in the left hand. Then we hop down to E in the left hand as we play G in the right hand. That's an E natural again. We go up to A. We want to play B flat. Then we hop down to G. Then we play A as in the right hand as we play F in the left hand. We go down to G, go up to A again, and then jump down to F. Let's move on to the second line here now, which is where we start off with a in the left hand as we play an F in the right hand, both with our thumbs. We go to G. We go to G in the left hand as we play A in the right hand. We play B flat. We tuck our thumb under to play C in the right hand as we play an F, just like that. Then we want to play G with our thumb as we play E flat in the right hand. Then we come down to F and D. Then we play E flat and C. Then we want to jump up to F in the right hand with our pinky as we play a D here with our fourth finger. Then we go to B flat and E flat. Then we want to play F and A with our two thumbs, just like that. And then we want to go to playing two B flats. In the left hand with our pinky, in the right hand with our middle finger. From here we jump up all the way to D, just like that. Walk down to C, and then we want to play another B natural along with a D in the left hand as we play a G here in the right hand. Then we want to go up to F. We want to go up to D. I said F, but I meant D, like this. We want to go down to C. Going to go back up to D. Then we want to play C in the left hand as we play G in the right hand. We want to jump up to E flat with our fourth finger. So those two measures sound like this. As you can hear, it's the same kind of rhythmical and musical motif, except it's just played with different notes, which I think is kind of a cool sound. And then we move on to a really neat measure here where we play B flat in the left hand as we play G with our right hand. We go up to D. Then we want to play A with our fourth finger as we play F sharp. Then we want to play C natural. Then we want to play two Gs, just like that. We want to go up to B flat in the right hand. And that's the end of that measure. So what this measure sounds like is this. And it's a really, really cool sound, and I really like how that measure sounds. It's really neat. So if we do that again, just to kind of lead us into the next measure here, we want to play D in the left hand as we play A in the right hand. From here, we hop down to A in our left hand. We walk down, we play F sharp. Then we play E natural. Then we want to play D in our right hand as we play D in the left hand. Then we want to play F sharp. We want to play G. We want to play A. We want to play B flat. Then we want to play E flat with our second finger in the left hand. We want to play D and B flat. Then we want to play C and A. Then we want to play B flat. We want to do that 16th note thing here, which basically works like this. Just like that. We want to play B flat, C, and D, but we want to play the C and D as 16th notes. Then we want to play C and G. Then we want to play F sharp with our fourth finger. Then we want to do this, which is the last chord of the piece. Basically, we play B, we play D, we play G with our right hand, which is thumb, second finger, and pinky, at the same time that we play G in the left hand. And then we jump an octave down on the second and third beats. So now let me play that whole second section through all the way through, nice and slow for you. Now, I thought I'd want to give just a little bit of a tip on how to play the 16th note. If you've never played the 16th notes before, if you're a little bit confused on how it works, I just thought I'd give you a little tip here at the end of the piece on how to play that. Now, basically, counting 16th notes is basically you're dividing the beat into 4 parts. So basically, when you play a quarter note, you're playing 1 beat. When you're playing eighth notes, you kind of want to think about dividing the quarter note into 2 parts. And then when you want to play 16th notes, you want to think of dividing the quarter note into 4 parts. That's basically how it works. So what we'd want to do here is in that first beat where we play the B flat, then we want to play the C and the D. At the same time, we'll play the B flat. Basically, what we want to kind of think of is playing 4 beats, but we want to play the B flat for the first 2, and then play C and D for the second 2. So like kind of like 1, 2, 3, 4. Basically, that's how that rhythm there works. And the way you want to count 16th notes in your head is basically 1 E and A. So kind of the 4 beats there are represented by 1 E and A. So when you're counting it, you want to go 1 E and A, 2 E, like that. 1 E and A, 2, like that. So hopefully you found that tutorial on how to play the Minuet in G minor to be rather helpful and informative. I really hope you did find it to be helpful, because that's kind of my goal, is to kind of help people in learning pieces. It's a really fun beginner piece, and it's just kind of cool. I like how it's kind of the minor version of the major Minuet in G, and so that's just, I think it's kind of cool, because, and in fact, at the bottom of my sheet music, you might have seen in the video that it actually says after you play the G minor Minuet, you can go back and play the G major Minuet once again if you so desire, because some people will actually play the G major Minuet, then play the G minor Minuet, and then go back and play the G major Minuet once again as a single performance, which I think is kind of cool. They fit very well together because they both sound similar, but also they sound a lot different, which is kind of neat. Now, if there's any interest, I do have a large amount of books here that are, these ones are all on Bach, but I also have some others that are just kind of like finger exercises and scales and crazy weird finger exercises to help your dexterity and help you play better piano. And so I've got all of these cool books. This is a book on Bach's 3-part inventions. If you just take a look at it, you can see here that it's a 3-part invention. Let me hold it up so you can see it. That's a 3-part invention here from Bach. It's number 8. There's not really much else labeled on the sheet music, but it's the 8th one in the book. This is what number 6 looks like. So we've got all that kind of stuff. We've also got like some books, some pieces from the Well-Tempered Clavier, 48 Preludes and Fugues, and this book is extra huge, which is kind of cool. The pages are like really tall, and just kind of neat. So if there's any interest in any of these kind of pieces, let me know, and I will do some tutorials on some of these at some point in the future as well, because I've got a lot going on at the moment. But when I do get around to doing it, if there's any interest, I will definitely learn some of these, and I will definitely teach you guys some of these pieces, because they're pretty cool. So hopefully you guys enjoyed this video on the G minor Minuet. Once again, if you found it helpful and you liked the video, make sure to go ahead and give it a like, and also if you want to, you can go subscribe to my channel. And if you do subscribe to my channel, make sure to hit the notification bell to be informed of all my future uploads, because I've got lots of cool reviews on pianos and organs and all kinds of cool keyboard instruments. And also I will also have some more tutorials on how to play scales, how to play finger exercises, and also some more Bach pieces as well. So if any of that sounds cool, make sure to hit the subscribe button, and if you do that, thank you very much, and I'll see you in the next video. Goodbye.